I am the president of Entrepreneurship, so I take the opportunity of welcoming all the participants, all our friends joining us, all Entrepreneurs and supporter of Entrepreneurship, as well as Jen, because I see from the list we've got some people outside Mauritius also following us. Now, I hope the sound is good. So basically, let me very quickly run through what is GW, what is GEN, and eventually what is Empretec Mauritius. Number one, GW, the Global Entrepreneurship Week, the Global Entrepreneurship Week. So that's a program of the Global Entrepreneurship Network. We've been running that for the 15th consecutive years. And that has been even going through COVID, the COVID years, the past 2-3 years. GEN, Global Entrepreneurship Network, it's a program that aims to build one global ecosystem for entrepreneurship. A couple of years back, we had 180 countries. Today, I think the latest figure shows that we've got 188 countries participating with about 12,000 partners operating, working through various programs and activity in the 188 countries I mentioned to you. Basically, as I mentioned, it is about building one ecosystem, one global ecosystem, whereby each and every partner in the ecosystem from any of the 188 countries can leverage from each other to learn, to share, to bring new ideas, to develop, and eventually to grow business, creating opportunities for each and everyone. I think the best thing, Yashad, would be if we can run the small, we have a little video about GEN and the Global Entrepreneurship Week. Can you run that, Yashad?
Yes, sure.
Yes, thank you.
I'm Jonathan Altmans, and I'm with Global Entrepreneurship Week.
I'm Jonathan Altmans, and
Global
I'm with Global
Entrepreneurship Week is
Entrepreneurship Week.
challenging to understand in some respects.
Global
because
Entrepreneurship Week is challenging to
35,000
understand in
events
some
happening at the
respects
same
because it's
time
35,000
in 125
events happening at the
countries.
same time in
Global
125
Entrepreneurship
different
Week offers
countries.
you the opportunity
Global Entrepreneurship Week offers
come
you
and
the
test your
opportunity
aptitude.
to come
Join
and test your
a networking
aptitude.
event. Come and meet a
Join
mentor.
a networking
Come
event.
experience
Come and
a
meet
boot
a
camp.
mentor. Come experience a boot camp.
Experience some other element of the
Come and
startup
experience
community
some
in your
other
city, in
element
your town,
of the startup
and learn
community
about
in your
whether or
city,
not
in your town.
at some point
And
in your
learn
life,
about whether or not
you may have
at some point
the
in your
interest
life
and the skill
you may
to be
have
able to
the
join
interest
a
and
startup.
the skill
And I think
to
this
be
has
able to
been
join
effective in
a
allowing people
startup.
to feel that
And I think
they're
this
not
has
only
been effective
driving
in allowing people
more
to feel
of their
that
fellow
they're not only
citizens to
driving
consider the path
more
of
of their
entrepreneurship in
fellow
their own
citizens
countries,
to consider the
but
path
they're
of
learning
entrepreneurship
and
in their own
participating
countries,
with people
but they're
from other
learning
nations.
and
It's really
participating
in
with
the hearts
people
and the
from
minds
other
of the
nations.
individuals
It's really
in
in the
each of these
hearts and the
countries.
minds
There's
of
a
the
way that
individuals
now
in
we
each
think
of these countries.
entrepreneurs might
There's
be
a way
the
that
force for
now we
change
think
in their countries,
entrepreneurs
for things
might be the
beyond
force for change
just
in their countries,
economic
for
change.
things beyond
That they
just
can actually
economic
make the
change.
world a better place.
That they can actually make the
The
world a
field
better
of
place.
entrepreneurship is no
The
longer
field of
something of narrow
entrepreneurship
commercial
is
significance.
no longer
It's
something of
something
narrow
more
commercial
cultural
significance.
consequence.
It's something
that
of more
represents the
cultural consequence.
possibility of
It's
human
something that
endeavor for the
represents the
benefit of all.
possibility of human endeavor
Globalization
for the
of
benefit
startup
of all.
communities
The
actually gives the
globalization
world
of startup
a much
communities actually
better
gives the
chance
world
at
a
solving
much
some of the intractable
better chance
challenges
at solving
of the
some of the
decades past.
intractable
So in a sense, we
challenges
see
of the
more
decades
citizens
past. So in a sense, we
trying their
see
hand at
more
helping the world
citizens
innovate its way
trying their
out of
hand
its
at helping the
challenges.
world innovate
The
its way
world
out of its challenges.
It's a question
The world
of
needs more entrepreneurs.
inspiring
It's a
more
question
people to
of
recognize
inspiring
that
more
it's
people
more
to
important to the
recognize
future of their
that
societies
it's more
than they
important to the
previously
future of their societies
Global
than they
Entrepreneurship Week is an
previously
idea bigger
recognized. Global
than all
Entrepreneurship Week is an
communities
idea
that make
bigger
it up.
than
And it
all of the
represents something
communities
we
that
can
make
all
it up.
aspire to,
And it
which is
represents
to be
something that
part
we can
of
all
one
aspire to,
global
which is
community
to be part of
people
one global
ferreting out better
community
ways of doing things
of people
and improving the
ferreting
lives of
out
our
better
citizens.
ways of doing things and improving the lives of our citizens.
Thank you. So that's a little video about the global entrepreneurship, which is one of the program of the Global Entrepreneurship Network. As I mentioned earlier on, the GEN, the Global Entrepreneurship, is a program that encompasses 188 countries. And the Global Entrepreneurship Week is run in some 125 countries. And in Mauritius, Empretec Mauritius is the host for the Global Entrepreneurship Network. And we have been running the Global Entrepreneurship Week for 14 consecutive years. We were not there the first year it was run when it was initiated in Seattle, USA. But afterwards, the following year, it started in Dubai, and Empretec Mauritius has been present and actually supporting this endeavor. Now, what is Empretec Mauritius? First, we have to talk about the Empretec program itself. The Empretec program is one that was initiated by UNDP, and now it's coordinated by UNCTAD, the United Nations Conference for Trade and Development, based in Geneva. Okay, am I still being heard?
Yes, you are. Yes,
okay,
you are.
thank you. So, as I've said, it is coordinated. So we do have a MOU with UNCTAD, with whom we do work and we do operate. In the world, there are some 40 Empretec centers, from Vietnam to Brazil, to places like Panama, even in East Europe, Poland and many other places, Romania. And obviously in Africa, there are something like 13, 14 different Empretec centers. So that's a very strong and powerful network that really has allowed Empretec Mauritius to really spread its wings, be present in many of those countries. As a small reminder, the Empretec Mauritius program started as a project back in 1999. We went on to be incorporated as a non-government, not-for-profit organization in 2006. And since then, basically, our activities have been quite wide and spread, which can basically be classified into, let's say, 4 or 5 different categories. Number one, we are talking about capacity building and technical assistance. Number two, entrepreneurship policy and development. Number three, business facilitation and support. Number four, social empowerment and sustainable development. And obviously, fifth is supporting high growth potential, high impact startups, be it in fintech or other segment that basically allows high growth potential entrepreneur to come up with the ideas and develop new things. And since the project inception in 1999, basically, Empretec Mauritius have implemented, I would say, about 75, between 70 to 80 different projects in 22 countries. And really, if you look at that spread, we are talking about anything between 350 and 375 country where we have had different project implementations. And obviously today this webinar is part of the Global Entrepreneurship Week that we are organizing. Yesterday we had a very interesting one, where we were talking about access to finance and the different options that exist, namely in terms of peer-to-peer lending, but also in terms of equity investment, where there are different possibilities, different investment options. And this morning, to talk a little bit more in detail and what we have been doing and what we intend to do and how we are progressing, and including some our track record. We have Yashad Bodia, who is a director with Empretec Mauritius. He has been involved on the advisory support services for I think 15 years, Yashad. We also have, and he is also an international master trainer with UNCTAD. So they have conducted training program in many countries, big in, for example, in Madagascar, in Uganda, in Nigeria, in Tanzania, and so on. So through that network, Yashad, I'm sure we'll have the opportunity to take a little bit more about it. We also have the pleasure of welcoming Maya Sivnat. She's an entrepreneur herself. She has been an Empreteco. Empreteco is basically the person who took the entrepreneurship training workshop with Empretec Mauritius in any other Empretec. As I mentioned to you, there are 40 worldwide. And that network is as powerful as having something around 475,000 entrepreneurs worldwide. We are talking from Vietnam to Brazil, from countries like Panama to obviously Mauritius, South Africa, Romania, and even, for example, having centers in countries like Palestine, Jordan, and so on. And obviously, unfortunately, we had a young entrepreneur, Nitya Mambeti, but for some personal issue, he will not be able to join us. But I am sure. So we also have Denise Pito. She is from the Mauritius Business Network. She's going to tell us a little bit more about her work and how she's bringing out the multiply effect of putting businesses together and making the most out of it. So we are definitely making up for the qualities here, ladies, and Yashad also. So I think the first thing I'll do is I'll let Yashad take over from here, explain a little bit more in terms of Empretec, how to be an entrepreneur. When we think about an entrepreneur, when we think about a successful entrepreneur, we see about the nice car, we see about the nice things and the glamorous things and so on. Unfortunately, there are a lot of hard work, passion, persistence, and many other things required, in that process of having, ingredients required to come up and make up a successful entrepreneur. So Yasha, tell us about that, how we manufacture or how we make successful entrepreneur like Maya. Just before I hand over to the mic to Yashad, for example, Maya was some time back, I think it was about 5-6 years ago, one of the very successful entrepreneur, and she was in the top 10 worldwide Empretecos, having participated in Geneva for the World Woman Business Award as well. Yashad, it's up to you.
Thank you, Mr. Manga. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Mrs. Yonat. Good morning, Mrs. Pito. So, very well said. Before entrepreneurship, I think, is not a job, it's a lifestyle, it's a choice, and it's a means to achieve personal satisfaction. So, I welcome you all to this live this morning, and we are going to speak a bit more about the entrepreneur. Why? Because we need to show you how to make the entrepreneur first, and then we'll show you how to be successful. And these ladies will share the experience to show you their way, their pathway, and what they did. So I'm going to share my screen for a small presentation so that you don't get to see you get to see some figures and what it takes. So let us take this example first. So uh, this is what we call the stages of for an entrepreneur. So what it takes, how he starts, and how he goes around to be to be an entrepreneur. So I'm going to oops. So the screen sharing is
It was okay previously, Yasha. Yes, I think it's okay now.
so. I was saying that the entrepreneur is not limited to micro or small businesses, but usually most entrepreneurs start very small. Why? Because they see opportunities, but they also calculate their risk and they set goals and they plan their way forward. So they have to undergo through a systematic process while working on an idea or exploiting an opportunity. Why we are speaking about ideas and opportunity? Because it's the seed of entrepreneurship. People need to be able to identify those opportunities and get this business idea that will make them move forward. So just like a seed germinating, the business also grows into a seedling and grows into a fruit-bearing tree where now you start seeing the results of the hard work of the entrepreneur. So there are some skills and competencies that are required to reinforce this ability. From an idea to a sellable product, the entrepreneur needs to develop a number of skills, be it personal, technical, managerial, but most important of all is the personal skills and competencies that he acquires throughout his entrepreneurial journey. Why? Because those competencies are the ones that keeps him the entrepreneurial flame alive throughout his career as an entrepreneur. Because we believe that an entrepreneur is not someone who launches only one business. He launches many startups. It may be one company, but you have many outlets, many ideas, many things that comes in all along his way during his entrepreneurial journey. So when we look at this screen, we see that the entrepreneur he starts a startup, comes after the seed stage. This is where he comes in with a sellable product, with something that he can sell and people are ready to buy. Because we have to remember that businesses and entrepreneurship, they address needs, they solve problems, and they add to the well-being of people around them and their customers at large. Why? Because people have to feel the need to buy your product for you to be able to start paving your way to success. So we have to remember our customers and be customer centric at one point. And a reminder as well when we look at the competencies that will come afterwards is entrepreneurship is not a bed of roses. So entrepreneurs have to be prepared, aspiring entrepreneurs over and above. They have to be prepared to meet the thorns and the roots of the bed of roses which lies beneath within their journey. And this is where the competencies will help them to move on and get things done. But unless you have no competition, it's the survival of the fittest as always. So if we look at figures, you will see that 80 to 90% of startups businesses fail within 2 years of operations, and it's for various reasons. It may be a lack of market, it may be lack of skills, it may be lack of technical skills as well. But for most, you have to be prepared for that. And those who survive past 2 years are the ones who have prepared themselves, who have increased their competencies to go forward in business. So, how they feel as well, this is what we call the valley of death for the entrepreneur. You start, you have your own savings, you have money, and you go forward, you start spending your money on your startup. And at one point, you find yourself without money, so the family and friends come in. But as you go into your startup, you plunge into what we call the valley of death. This is where you have to look for means to get out of this of the cold waters of the valley, where you have to find financing, you have to find mentoring, or you have to find other ways to get you out of this valley and take you to the market and start to be where you can start to be successful. So let's get back to the competencies and how they will help you out of this valley of death. These competencies form part of the core of the entrepreneurship program of Empretech UNCTAD Entrepreneurship Training Workshop. It has been researched by Professor David McClelland in the 80s, where he has interviewed many entrepreneurs around the world, and they have come up with a set of competencies that are common to those people. They have seen and they have tested these competencies, and it's the only set of competencies, I may say, that has been translated into a very practical program for the development of entrepreneurship around the world. Today, we are in 44 countries, 44 Empretech centers dispensing the same program. In some 1 month back, we have launched what we call the Entrepreneurship ETW6DM, which is the modernized version of entrepreneurship training that we had. So now we are not only speaking about competencies, but we are also equipping entrepreneurs with tools and techniques to develop their business and maintain themselves into business. And but our core remains the the personal entrepreneurial competencies of our participants, of entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs. So how it works is it has been clustered. It has been clustered into the achievement cluster, the planning cluster, and the power cluster. Achievement cluster is every motivation and drive that will make you, want to move forward. You have pre-operational and post-operational competencies within those. So the degree that you use them will vary, whether you are a startup, whether you are operating your business, or whether you are only managing your business. So these entrepreneurship competencies stay there, and you use them maybe more in terms of opportunity seeking and initiative at startup, but more when you are when you are managing your enterprise now, you will see that you are using more the demand for quality and efficiency, because entrepreneurs are never satisfied with what they have. They want to always offer something better, or get their operations to be cheaper. So this is not part of greed, as some people say. No, it is part of the entrepreneurial competencies. I want to improve myself. I want to reduce my cost, but I want to give something better to my customers as well. And entrepreneurs are risk takers, but they don't gamble. They are people who take calculated risk in their decisions. It's always measured risk. It's never going into the unknown without seeing what's in for me, or how can I, you know, go around with what I have. And entrepreneurship is also much persistence and commitment. Both, I've said both together. Why? Because if you are not committed, it's no use persisting. And if you are not persisting, even with commitment, nothing works. So these are the achievement drives of the entrepreneur. When we go to the second part of the entrepreneurship competencies that we see, there are something that is very important: the goal setting competency of the entrepreneurs. He knows what he wants, he knows where or she wants to go, and what he or she wants to achieve. And that is very important to drive the business now to new heights. If someone is satisfied with being small, then we can train, we can do many things, but we won't be able to push that person beyond what he's already doing. We have this information seeking competency where the entrepreneur is always thirsty to find information, to get to know what others are doing. And this is also what keeps you in the market and keeps you competing with everyone, because you are not uh, within the four walls of your workshop or your office or anywhere else, but you open your doors and windows, you listen to what people are saying, to what people are doing, so that you can really take your enterprise to new heights. And you have the systematic planning part and monitoring part, which is the beauty of entrepreneurship. And last, in the last cluster, you will see that the power of the entrepreneur is his persuasive power, but also his network. So it is very important for entrepreneurs to network, to meet other entrepreneurs, to meet other people, to know people around, because it's not about competition, it's about collaboration. This is how people will be solving their own problems. And the last one, that is more beautiful and is many times associated with arrogance, but it is not arrogance. It is the independence and self confidence of the entrepreneur, who, over the years, over his career, has developed a thick skin that makes him walk proudly on the streets and say, I am an entrepreneur and I did all that by myself. So these are the competencies. But with what we have done also is we have tried to, in the Mauritian context, we have made research and we have interviewed people, or we have profiled entrepreneurs around, especially people who operate within the SME sector in Mauritius. And you will see that our SMEs are very, they are very they rate themselves very high in the achievement cluster part and the power cluster. But unfortunately, what happens is the planning cluster remains a weakness. So this is an area where we really need to focus and improve ourselves. We have also seen something among our startups over the last few years that we are conducting this study, is what we call the confused startup. Our startups are focusing on what others are doing and then trying to start businesses. Very few of them are able to identify those opportunities that will make this $1 million um, enterprise or SME. So this is one of the aspects that we need to address, that to be able to have a whole new type of entrepreneurs in Mauritius and in the region, because let's not forget, we have a limited market, yes, but we also have an ocean around us, and we have the opportunity to have these markets at our fingertips as well. So we have to think beyond our borders. And what we have seen as also is our SMEs, they are overconfident on their abilities. Why I say overconfident is because we have felt that during our studies, and also because they rarely recognize their weaknesses. So, for an entrepreneur to be able to move forward, I think it remains very important to have witnesses around. So the profile of our entrepreneurs is which sector are they concentrated, and the value added per sector. You will see that we have a great concentration on wholesale trade and retail trade and transport. And it is a paradox because the greatest value addition comes from wholesale and retail instead of manufacturing, which is supposed to be highly value added in other countries. This is the profile taken from the SME 10-year master plan, but it has not changed so much over the years. We have 120, 30, approximately 130,000 SMEs, and most of them find themselves below with a turnover of below 2 million or employing very few people around. So when we go on, when we test the motivation, why have they launched their business, you see that many enterprises are operating on survival mode. Why? Because maybe they have not focused so much on an opportunity, or they are facing a situation where they really want to improve their their financial standing. So the growth strategy remains on new products. So we need to change that as well, and go beyond and see what the market is looking for before we decide to venture out and start a business. So we can say, we can conclude on my part that innovation, when you put all those competencies together, you get innovation that becomes a major driver. You will tell me that okay, innovation is learned like our competencies as well. But what is important here is when you put on all those entrepreneurial competencies together, you can aspire to innovate, to find things that are done differently, to question things around. Because we always take this example during our training, which is a very old one. Innovation did not come from the captains of the industry. People who were those first innovators. I take the example of the one who invented the commercial plane. They were not in transport business. The one who invented the pen, they were not in the press. So each and every innovator comes from a different angle, looks at the problem and says, why not? So this is a bit about my presentation. So thank you. Now I'll leave the floor to
Thank you, Yashat.
Ahmed.
So thank you for this kind of elaborate presentation about the competencies for being a successful entrepreneur, and also happy that you were able to kind of present a little bit the 10-year master plan that Protect Mauritius did for the government of Mauritius back in 2016. And for information, the 10-year master plan, it had four key objectives. Number one, so it started 2016, and 10 years obviously is 2026. In terms of the GDP of SMEs, the objective was to support, to come up with policies and action and activities and support, so that SME, in terms of the GDP contribution, can be increased from 40% back in 2016 to an objective and an aim target of 52% in 2026. In terms of employment, at the moment, the SMEs employ about 55% of the workforce. The objective is to have it up to 64%. In terms of export, the volume attributed to SMEs is fairly low, 3%, and the master plan, aimed to support, to bring different support schemes and incentive, so that that segment, that the SMEs can contribute to about 18% of our total export value. I think now better that we leave the other two panelists speak a little bit about their track record. Maybe I should start with Maya first. Maya, could you just tell us a little bit about yourself, your track record in terms of the company that you started quite some time back, your very briefly your experience, the ups and downs of being an entrepreneur, and obviously, the success factor.
I think we have lost Maya for
we have lost
connection.
Okay, so maybe until she comes back, we rather then will pass the mic to Denise, Denise Pitot. Again, thank you very much, Denise, for being present and supporting this webinar, this endeavor in which is, again, as mentioned, run in the context of the Global Entrepreneurship Network. As a reminder, Denise runs the Mauritius Business Network. So please tell us what it is, why you came up with the idea, and what are the objectives and what the directions. And for example, if someone wants to join your network, what should we be doing?
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for the introduction, Sanjay. Irshad, thank you so much for the platform. I am absolutely thrilled to be here because I just love connecting with entrepreneurs and being there to help other people who want to be in business and just to be more successful. I myself have been in and out of entrepreneurship. I've always wanted to be my own boss, and you're absolutely right, Sanjay. I think you alluded to the fact that it looks so glamorous about having, business owners have lots of free time to themselves, right? They can manage their own time. And this is what attracted me most, is that I wanted to have balance in my life. I wanted to be able to have a better quality of life in terms of being there for my children. And in reality, it's not that simple. Sure. So you hit the nail on the head there. And I think that when we go into business and we think that it's all roses and easy, this is when it, the reality slaps us in the face, and we realize that it's actually quite a lonely place to be an entrepreneur. It's a hard road to travel because a lot of the time we're on our own. And we think that the phones are just going to ring and that orders are going to come popping into our inboxes. And it's not always like that. But I also really liked what you said earlier, Irshad, about filling a need, because this is exactly it. I think that if we can see a need as opposed to seeing what somebody else is doing, and we rather identify a need and find a way to fill that need for people, it gives us a uniqueness. It gives us something that makes us different. And we can then start selling our services based on what we're doing as opposed to selling on price. Because once we're doing what everybody else is doing, then it becomes a price war, right? Because why should they use you? So I think that's a really important thing, to just be constantly looking for opportunities and seeing how you can fill those opportunities. So a little bit about my story. I came to Mauritius 5 years ago with my husband. My husband is Mauritian, and we came to the island and we didn't know anybody. And this is interesting, when you've been living in one place and you've been to school and you've got friends around you that you've made all your life, and suddenly now you're on your own. Suddenly you realize the need for a network. Fortunately, I've always belonged to networks in South Africa. So I've always been very involved with various different networks. I've been founding members of various networks. And so when I came here, it was the first thing that I wanted to do because I love people and I needed to have people around me. And so MBN was born 4 years ago. This month, November, is our 4th birthday. So I'm very
Congratulations.
proud of that. Thank you. I'm very proud of that fact, and I absolutely love all my members. They are amazing, and just to see their growth and their development on the journey of entrepreneurship themselves. And I'm walking the same road with them, and that's a very exciting place to be. So my number one thing that I would probably say to people who are listening in on this webinar is that we need to surround ourselves with people who get us, people who understand us, people who are, we use the term like-minded, but what does that really mean? That means people who are on the same path as us. And as business people, we need more business people around us. As entrepreneurs, we need to make sure we've got entrepreneurs around us that we can constantly connect with, share ideas, share our concerns, and just connect and know that we're not alone in this journey. That as hard as it is, it makes it easier having people around us. Something that I'm always saying to the people in my network, and if there are any online today, then they will know exactly what I'm about to say, is that visibility is really important, to be as visible as possible, and then to be credible in that visibility. Because when we are visible, when we're credible, and we put those together, it turns to profitability. And so I would just encourage you on your journey as an entrepreneur to make sure that you're visible as much as possible wherever you can be seen. When Irshad mentioned to me today, would I like to come and share? It was that, yes. And I mentioned to him earlier, I've got such a busy day because we had People's Choice Awards yesterday. And you know what? It's really important. This visibility is really important for me and for you and your businesses. The more you can make yourself visible on whatever platforms you can connect on, just grab every opportunity and make sure you're visible. Secondly, credible, because the way that you are presenting yourself, whether it's on Facebook, on LinkedIn, in person, at meetings, in the media, wherever it is, it needs to be from a credible standpoint, because no good being visible in a negative light. So we have to remember that as much as we want to be visible all the time, it needs to be visible with credibility, and that will lead to profitability. I believe that wholeheartedly. So I mentioned about surrounding yourselves with the right kind of people. If business people are the right kind of people that you need to connect with, and if they are people who are positive, that's the platform that we have. It's a network of business people who help one another, who are there to give you a shoulder when you need one, or an ear to listen to you if you need one, or to extend opportunities for collaboration and for passing of referrals. Then I'd highly recommend that you consider MBN as one of those networks.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much, Denise. Actually, that's very true and very important. People say that your power is the power of your network also.
Absolutely.
How you can leverage on each other. We do have a tendency in Mauritius to think that, okay, that's my idea. I have discovered it. I'm not going to share with anyone. I'm not going to talk about it. Real entrepreneur, successful entrepreneur will tell you that no. For them, they discussed the idea, maybe not with everybody, but select people, took the idea, discussed, got third-party opinions, modulated as they progress, and eventually, by the time the idea was implemented, it had a better shape and input. And
Absolutely.
therefore, seeking opportunity, as Yash had mentioned earlier on, is one of the traits of entrepreneur. And the next person, Maya, I did introduce you once you were disappearing from our screen, but I will do that for the convenience again. So again, thank you very much, Maya Sivnat, for joining us this morning and sharing your experience. We wanted to know, how this idea of being an entrepreneur, especially a woman entrepreneur, which is probably a little bit tougher than being a male entrepreneur, but nonetheless is challenging. How you started, a little bit of the journey, the challenges you face, the successes that came around, the sleepless nights, and so on, and eventually how the outlook is for your company. Please go on, Maya. You are here? You can hear us? Right. Can you hear us, Maya?
Your mic may be off.
Your mic is off. Please, can you unmute yourself?
It's okay?
Yes, better.
Yes. So a very good morning to all the people that are present, panelists and the guests. And it's always a privilege to come and explain my experience, my journey as an entrepreneur. As Sanjay introduced me, I'm an entrepreneur. Years back, I started my business, and I've gone through a very long journey. Yashad very well explained also all the competencies of an entrepreneur, which I think if I go through all the 10, I've developed each and every one. I have to thank Sanjay Mango to bring this concept of Empotech Mauritius to Mauritius, since we need a platform to encourage people to learn the ABC of being an entrepreneur. And I think he has done quite a lot. And I'm one of those Empoteco who has been able to gather, to know, to get the knowledge of being an entrepreneur and what are the characteristics, what are the traits that an entrepreneur need to be successful. Well, I took this training in 2000, so you can imagine the long journey that I've been through. And today, I must say, I'm proud to be a successful entrepreneur. So, yeah, it's not only a bed of roses. When you start, you have a lot of challenges, you have a lot of problems, you have to overcome a lot of hurdles. First of all, you have to get yourself, you have to understand what makes you a person that can take an opportunity, that can take the risk of bringing a product or a service on the market at an affordable price where he or she can make a profit out of it. So yeah, years back I was working in a furniture company, and I've learned quite a lot of things over there, and I understood that I could start up my own company. So at that time, I got a lot of opportunities, like uh, a company was in receivership. I bought all the machines. I had men, which we talk about the 5 M's. I had the machine, I had the market that where the company had gone to the receivership, the market was there, so I grabbed it. I had the men, money. I had a very good networking with the banks, local banks. You have to get that aptitude of talking to people to gain trust and everything. So the bank trusted me, and there we just got the materials, the suppliers that were already in the local market. We went and talked to them, and we got everything. We gathered all the resources and started our company in 1997. So there we have been selling furniture all throughout, and year by year I have put on goals and achievement. I have tested myself, what what I can do more and more and more. And this is where Yashad said the flame of an entrepreneur is in you, in what you want to do. You want to grow, you want to be big, you want to serve your clients, you want to get happy customers. So this is where I started to diversify in furniture. Like I started customized furniture. I started with there was a loop in the market where there was a lack of children furniture, baby furniture. So these were where I grabbed all these markets and started serving them. So yeah, it's been quite a long journey, and now I think I've reached the top where I'm playing the consultancy side, as I have two sons who have already taken the training with Empotech Mauritius years back, and they have finished their university. They came back, so they're taking over the company, and I'm just mentoring them so that they can bring the company a leap forward. So this is my journey. I'm very happy. I'm proud. And sure, we had quite a lot of problems in terms of access to finance, access to market, access to labor, access to the legal framework. So many problems that we encountered from start of my company up to now. But each time it's always, if you take it as a problem, you have to take it as a challenge that you know every problem has a solution, so you just have to look for the solution and come out successfully. There are certain the drawbacks, but you learn from them. So this is how I've been able to bring my company, which is SSS Furniture, today at a, let's say, to the national level, and maybe in the years that will come, maybe international. So on the same wavelength, I can say that in Mauritius, we have the tendency that entrepreneur, they don't go for things that they know. They just go into trading, because you know the global market is so easy now. You just buy something and you sell it. So that's why most of the entrepreneurs, they are doing trading. So I think there should be an entrepreneurial framework that the government should put here, and a laboratory where you can bring ideas and these entrepreneurs can come and choose what they want to do. This is where we can bring them into the manufacturing, into the service. We know that we are in a hospitality country. The tourist sector is blooming, and many entrepreneurs are going in that side. But you need the government, the legal framework, to help them uh, seek those opportunities and get them going. And
Okay.
also I think in terms of university, schools, education, you need to give them that opportunity so that they can move forward. Because you know the data that Yashad was telling, that there is so much of drawbacks after 5 years, it's quite alarming. We have to give them that push. So I'm very happy to be here. Anytime you need me, I can counsel, I can give you idea. And this is where I'm the president of the SME chambers, where we have around 125 members with us, who bring together their problems. And as Denise was saying, a network is very important. So we are networking, we are talking about our problem, which are common, and we work in collaboration with the Ministry of SMEs, where we discuss our problem, we look for solution, and come out with, especially with the 2 years of COVID that just came, we had
Yes.
so many issues, so many problems, and we've been able to sort out most of them. So
Thank you. Yeah.
being in a
Thank you.
network is very important. So
Excellent.
thank you very much.
Thank you, Maya. I'm very interested in, some of the very interesting things that you just said. In Mauritius, more than 80% of SMEs are family-owned businesses, and you were talking about succession planning. I think that's very important. Very often, proper succession planning is absent, and it does create some form of problem and some difficulties. And also talking about SMEs, generally, and it's not necessarily just a phenomenon in Mauritius, maybe the tendency is a bit more, is higher in Mauritius, but 85% of SME, 80% of SMEs in the world basically will either die or go dormant within the two years. Yet we know that SMEs are the largest is a driver that really creates more jobs and so on. So Yashad, maybe in terms of the activities and so on, in terms of the how support, what can be done, what policies required in terms of to SMEs that will help to improve their longer term sustainability.
Yes, you're right. When we look at long-term sustainability of SMEs, uh, many things have been done, and we have recommended many things that is being implemented by the government. But when we need to go, we need to also to go practical in strategies. I'm sure that both Denise and Maya will share about how has strategic planning helped them. How has planning helped them to sustain their business and to be present for very so long on the market.
Yes, definitely. In terms of strategy, in terms of development, but also um, we have to bear in mind that Mauritius is a small market. It's 1.25 million people. It's a competitive market, very open and accessible. Um, what I wanted to ask Denise, if or when she comes back, yes,
She's
sorry, yeah, Denise, we managed to get you back. So I was saying that you can hear me, Denise? Hello, 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 Denise, are you here? Yeah, Yashad, can you hear me?
Yes, you're loud and
Okay,
clear. I think
okay,
Denise is facing some problems with
okay.
her
By the
connection.
time she sorted out the issue, uh, can you hear me, Denise? Hello? Okay, anyway, let's go back to what Maya was saying until we get Denise sorted out. Um, Maya, you obviously mentioned in terms of the support through the SME chamber and so on, the network, the support and so on. If you have to like enumerate, let's say, two factors that can be done, that can be provided to SMEs, which will allow them to kind of strive, can allow them to be more productive, more efficient, and obviously, reach out to a larger market. What do you think those two factors should be? What those two support should be?
I think the first one is access to market. We have to give
Okay.
them avenues to go beyond what is here in local, because as you said, we have a very restricted market. We have to explore a bit more, like the African market, to move out of the country. So if they are being given support and information, and bring them over there, make a B2B, network and everything, this would have helped a lot. And secondly, I think access to finance is very important. Yeah, yesterday you talk about the quite the funkies and new types of finance that are available on the market. But I think with the 2 year of COVID, a lot of SMEs have faced quite serious problem in the financial issues, and we are still talking to the Minister of Finance to get some help, because if your cash flow, if your debt your debt percentage is quite high, it's very difficult that people will give you more loans and help. So in this category, I think if the SMEs could get some financial help, they would be able to move up and continue their company to grow and go beyond.
Okay. Now, indeed, I think you are very right. Those two are very important kind of driving factors for SMEs to develop. And you did touch on access to finance. Basically, yesterday we had a webinar, again in the context of Global Entrepreneurship Network, and we had besides FSC, the Financial Services Commission that stepped in as a regulator, we had ourselves, FinClub, which is a peer-to-peer lending platform, actually the first one to obtain a license from the FSC. At the moment, we are mostly dealing with individuals and self-employed, so salaried and self-employed, basically helping out in terms of the access to finance. Especially through peer-to-peer, you can have access to finance. It's uncollateralized, that is to say, no security is required. So for people who are in business, for people who need finance, please do connect on that on our platform, finclub.mu. And obviously, the second point you mentioned was the access to market. So I don't know whether we managed to get Denise back. Are you here, Denise? No? Okay.
No,
Basically, okay. So basically, access to market, as I mentioned, Mauritius being a small market, 1.25 million people, it's a very open market, therefore very competitive to imports, to various imports. And therefore, it is important that we are able to it is important that we are able to expand our market, and it is important that we go beyond our own boundaries. And therefore, the network, the connection is important. So we managed to get Denise back. Can you hear me, Denise? No, we can't hear you. I don't know whether your mic is muted. No? Maybe you can mute and unmute yourself again. Yashad, can you have a look on your host? Huh?
Let me try.
Yeah.
Can you hear us, Denise?
I think she can hear us, but we can't hear her. Can you check your mic if
I was. We just lost her again, but
okay, until she comes back. So I was talking about the access to finance. Basically, we had the webinar yesterday looking at different finance options, especially through peer-to-peer. Obviously, we had our friends from Funkis, essentially involved in peer-to-peer lending for SMEs. We also had FinClub, peer-to-peer lending platform for individuals,
I think Denise
self-employed
is.
people.
We lost.
For self-employed. And obviously, we also had Olive Crowd, which is basically a platform, peer-to-peer lending platform involved in equity financing. So let's pray now that we managed to have you back, Denise. Can you hear us? Can you hear me? I don't think so. Okay. Now, last call. Let's try. No? Can you hear me? No, she can't hear us. So basically, given the interest of time, because we are already slightly above, we would like to conclude here, but maybe a concluding remark from Maya. If we are able to get Denise, she will also be able to intervene. Sorry. But any concluding remark, any message, any encouragement, Maya?
Yes, on a note of conclusion, I would say that a very remarkable work is being done by Empotech Mauritius, and I encourage youngsters and women to join in and get the training of the PECs, of the 10 competencies, and they would be more armed to tackle their journey for of being an entrepreneur. And I would be very happy if the percentage could increase, especially in Mauritius, which of course bring the economy back to normal and create jobs, and we live in a better society.
Thank you, Maya. Indeed, for next year, we are planning at least a couple of entrepreneurship training workshops that will be coming. And also, we have a few things in the pipeline. For example, the Entrepreneurship World Cup that Yashad can kind of briefly talk about, and also give your concluding remark, Yashad.
Thank you, Mr. Margot. So we have run the Entrepreneurship World Cup in Mauritius over the last 2 months, and last month was the finals. So we closed with we are now in the preparation of the finals in Mauritius. So we are going to invite people to see to the pitch of the participants, and the winner will be going to Saudi Arabia for the finals, for the global finals. And what's good in this competition is they have registered on the Gen website
Platform. Yeah.
platform, and they also get a lot of support, mentoring, and perks around in their participation. So it helps them to really fine tune their business idea, fine tune their products, and move forward into the next level. But also, it gives Mauritian entrepreneurs the experience to compete on a global level, because let's not forget that nowadays globalization has made it so that we compete not with our neighbor when we do business. We are also competing with that SMEs in China, in the US, or in Africa who is doing the same business as us. So we we have to bear that in mind, and we need to really participate and get this competency of getting information to be able to have faster growing SMEs, and SMEs who can make it to the global level.
Okay. Thank you very much, Yashad. Just give me. I was saying, sorry, it seemed due to some technical glitch, we've kind of lost Denise. For just to remind you, Denise run the Mauritius Business Network. So it's a network of entrepreneurs, it's a network of business people, and also a professional. Definitely, they are very present on the social media. They're also very present. You'll get them. You'll get them on the social media. Denise, are you back?
Yes, I am. I'm so sorry.
Excellent. No problem. It's just in time. Just in time. But I won't let you go before I ask you one question.
Yes.
We were talking about opportunities of expanding markets and so on, and I did mention that Mauritius has a small population of 1.25 million people. It's a small market. It's a very competitive market. It's an open market. How, given your international exposure and also the connection of your network, what do you think SMEs could do to have access to those international markets, and also how your network can support that endeavor.
Thank you. Thanks so much for asking that. I think it's a really important question because, like you say, we have a small population here, and I think if any of us want to make real money, we need to look outside of Mauritius. To have any business that is just purely supported by the local market is going to be difficult to grow to any great size. So, my feeling is that we need to be communicating with as many people as possible, and exploring really deep diving interaction between each other to uncover opportunities where the people that we're talking to might be able to expose us to markets outside of Mauritius. Because it's only really once we start digging deep that we're going to be able to uncover that sort of information. We're all living here in Mauritius, but by communicating with one another is great, but we need to explore what opportunities there are outside of Mauritius through those relationships. So, for example, with MBN, we have a number of international members, but even just the local members that we've got, many of them are expatriates, many of them have contacts that live outside of Mauritius. And if you just take one by one and start sitting and taking time with each of those and building those relationships and exploring what opportunities there could be, this could lead us to opportunities outside of Mauritius, to grow our business. And certainly, you asked how MBN can help. We have, for example, a reciprocal agreement with the South African network organization. So once you're a member of MBN, you get reciprocal membership to the South African organization. And I will continue to look for relationships like that offshore to see how we can develop more international relationships. So as much as I'm trying to grow internationally, I think all of the members and all entrepreneurs should be looking to do the same thing. So thank you for asking.
Thank you very much, Denise. Yeah, Shad, your concluding remark, and so that then we can wrap up.
Well, I think those two ladies have summed it up and really summarized everything about entrepreneurship, about networking. So we invite you to. It's. I think it's a lifetime. It's a once in a life experience. The training that we offer for entrepreneurship development, and it's not only about the training, but it's about the competencies that you will gather for a lifetime because we will. It's not only inborn, but you will be taught how to develop, your opportunity seeking skills, your planning skills, or even the networking. But also, I will encourage more and more youth to embrace the path of entrepreneurship and start to rely on themselves, start companies that have the ability to grow and grow beyond borders.
Thank you, Yashad. As you mentioned, the entrepreneurship training workshop basically that we have been running since 1999. I think you mentioned, Maya, you followed it in 2000. We really have had, I think, 4 women entrepreneurs of the year who were in Pretecos. I think Maya is one of them as well. So it's really, as Yashad mentioned, a life-changing experience. Why? Because it tackles, the attitudinal and behavioral changes required to become an entrepreneur. It does require a change, in attitude, in behavior, and so on. So thank you, Maya. Thank you, Denise. Thank you, Yashad. And thank you, all you guys who have been attending the webinar. Please keep following us, whether it's Empretec Mauritius, whether it's MDN Mauritius Network, right? And also in terms of, the Mauritius Business Network and the SME Chamber. today it's not too difficult to get in touch with one another. So we would like to thank you, and we wish you plenty of success in your endeavor in whatever you are planning to do. Please forge ahead. Don't discourage. It's perseverance is key word for entrepreneurship. Thank you.
Exactly.
you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.